G'day guys, Jason here. Today we're strengthening your hamstrings. So if you're someone that suffers reoccurring hamstring strains, tendinopathies, tendinosis, or you're someone that has an anterior pelvic tilt, so your pelvis is tucked down at the front, so what this causes is your hamstrings can actually be long and weak. So a lot of people think your hamstrings are always short and tight and that's why you can't touch your toes, but some cases they can actually be stuck in a lengthened position. So if I'm always in an anterior pelvic tilt, pelvis is down at the front, these hamstrings are always like that, so they're stuck into that lengthened position, and then when you try and go and contract, they're not strong enough in that concentric contraction, which is the shortening phase of the hamstrings, and that's when you might suffer some reoccurring strains. So yeah, we've got a program here. We're going to progress through 8 exercises. Some are quite basic, just going through strengthening the glutes and the hamstrings, and then we're building up into deadlifts as well. So the first one we're going to go through is the pelvic thrust. So it's important with all these exercises that we focus on having our feet facing forwards. So we don't want to have any turned out foot postures because this is going to compensate what happens at our glute complex, and we want to strengthen our glute max and our hamstrings in alignment, all right? So with the pelvic thrust, we're lying down, we're making sure that we tuck our bum under, so our glutes are activated by tucking our bum down like that, flattening my back on the floor. Feet are about hip width apart, and then you can play around with where you want your feet in terms of relevance to your bum. So yeah, I'm just going to start there, and then from here we're pushing through the floor, squeezing up into hip extension, not going into any overextension through the lower back here, so it's just making sure we're getting good extension through the glutes, and then slowly lowering back down, making sure that pelvis is staying posteriorly tucked, so tucking under and then squeezing back up. So we're keeping tension the whole way through our glutes and our hamstrings, all the way through this movement, so control back down. So as I squeeze up, I'm rolling my lower back down the floor, my hips are the last thing to touch, and then I go again squeezing up, all right? So you can build up to doing 30 reps of thrusts, nice and controlled, hold for 10 seconds at the top, just to get that maximal contraction on, and then slowly lowering back down. So we're splitting this workout into chapters, so yeah, follow along. The next one is a wall stride. All right, we're onto the wall stride, so strengthening our glute, hamstring, and calf all in one exercise, getting us prepared for running. So we want to put our hip and knee at 90 degrees. We're tractioning our foot down against the pole here, so making sure our hamstring's activated. We're tucking our pelvis under, and then we're just going to lift off an inch or two off the floor, so you don't have to come up too high. And then from here, we're keeping our hips in the same position, and we're just going to calf raise off the pole and then slowly lower back down. So the importance here is to keep contact with the wall or the ply box, whatever you're using, with the inside of your big toe and the outside of your foot. So you're not rolling your ankle around, you're keeping that in contact with the wall the whole time, and slowly back down. So squeezing the calf and then lowering back down. So all the time I'm pulling down with my hamstring here, so that's on, concentric contraction, then we're recruiting the calf and squeeze back down. So we're trying to replicate angles that we would hit while we're running and sprinting, all right? So it's breaking down that running pattern, getting glute, hamstring and calf all contracting at the same time. So you can build up, start off with 10 reps, do on both sides just to make sure you're balancing out, and you can build up to doing 20 reps, 2 sets. All right, thanks guys. Moving on to the next exercise. So we're on to foam roller bridge. So using a foam roller in a different sense to what you might normally be used to. So we're going to start again lying on a position similar to that pelvic thrust, 4 feet on the foam roller, and we want our knees at a 45-degree angle. So don't want them too bent or too low. So find that angle, 4 foot on the roller. Again, we're tucking our bum under, squeezing glutes and hamstrings, and then we're just going to lift off ever so slightly off the roller, and then we're also pushing through our forefoot, lifting our heels up into a calf raise. So we're holding here. So you might actually get some cramping if you're really weak and you're not used to concentrically contracting those hamstrings. You might actually get cramping straight away from this exercise. So it can be pretty brutal. Like already here, I'm getting some shakes, getting some burning. So you might just need to do a little 10-second round the first time, then have a bit of a rest, shake them out, stretch them out, and then go again. So a way you can progress this is to go to 1 foot. So we take one off, lift up onto the roller, and then squeezing up there again, holding and pushing that heel up towards the roof. So we're always trying to hold there. So this is strengthening our hamstrings to contract when you're running, when you need to sprint. If you're someone that's playing a competitive sport where you're always jogging around, then you need to quickly react and sprint. You really need to be able to concentrically contract without having any issues here. So relax there. So when we use our forefoot on the roller, we're focusing more on our distal part of the hamstring. So when we put our heels on the foam roller, we're going to target more the upper attachments here, all right? So same sort of thing, tuck the bum under, lift off, and hold there with the heel. So you'll feel it a bit higher up in the hamstring, where when you're on the forefoot, you'll feel more down in the muscle belly and the distal tendons. All right, so again, you can start off 10 seconds, build up towards 30 seconds, even a minute once you really start to build your strength up. All right, give it a go, guys. So on to Nordic. So this is going to be an eccentric contraction, so the lengthening of the hamstrings, and we want to have control under that. So this might be really good for someone that is stuck in that shortened hamstring and you can't actually lengthen through there. So I'm going to call one of my minions in. Aaron's going to come and help me out because I need someone to lock in my ankles here. If you're doing this at the gym, there are actually like benches where you can get your ankles strapped in. So I'm just going to go arms across my chest, and then I'm going to slowly let my body start to come forward, and then to the point where I can't hold myself anymore, I drop down. So the idea is to get as low as you can before you let go. So there, and then go. So you don't want to hold too much where you feel like you're going to really injure it, but you've got to challenge yourself. Thanks for the little headbutt there to push me down and control down. And the idea is that you slowly get lower and lower towards the ground, but it's also just, really bulletproofing your hamstrings. This is such a good exercise for people that, always sprinting, requiring a lot of running and movement and explosive type movements. Hopefully you can get someone that looks at you like Aaron. So do sets of 10, have a rest in between, then repeat again. Thanks, guys. Moving on to functional glutes. So on to functional glutes. So this is strengthening our glute and hamstring in a running, walking type pattern. So we want to get a cable machine or TheraBand, and then we're going to start in this hip hinge position. So starting feet together, we want to push our hips back, and then whichever arm has the cable, that same leg is going to start back. So nice and high bum, so we feel the glute here. So even just in this position, I can feel my glute holding me there. And then once I'm balanced, I start to row the cable in, stand up onto one leg, squeeze my glute, and lock on at the top. So really strengthening the glute here as if we're going through running and sprinting biomechanics. And then we're going to slowly dive back over. The cable goes out, leg goes back, and we're loading up this glute. This back leg just touches lightly to give you a bit of balance. And then when we're ready again, we squeeze back up and hold at the top, locking on again. Opposite arm to knee coming through, so we're syncing up like we would be when we're running, and then we're slowly lowering back down. A key here is to make sure, again, a lot of people's go-to is to turn the foot out and compensate like that. We want to make sure all the time that foot is facing forward and we're training in proper alignment here. So squeeze, come up, lock on at the top, and hold there, and then really dive over. And we can start to add in rotating the rib cage, so that way we're starting to create connection from this glute into the back of this shoulder, so that fascial line really starts to light up and we build up the strength there. So you can do reps of 10 on each side, building up. You can do 2 sets, but once you really get good at this exercise, that glute will be burning on fire. All right, we're on to the last exercise, which is a deadlift. So lucky last, a deadlift. This is probably the ultimate exercise that if you're someone that suffers recurring hamstring injuries, this is what you need to do, all right? So with our deadlift, feet hip width apart, facing directly forward. So again, none of this turned out foot posture. Hip width apart, make sure you're balanced. Line up, shins touching the bar. Then we're gonna push our bum back, going through a hip hinge. So we're pushing our bum back, loading up our glutes, getting some length through our hamstrings again. So even for some people, this might be hard. So just practice a couple of reps there, push your bum back, load up, feel some tension through the hamstrings. You might feel a bit tight. That's actually a good sensation that you're in. If you're not feeling that, sometimes you might actually have your bum too low and you're starting to get into these squat positions. So we really want to make sure we're targeting our glutes and hamstring when we're doing this deadlift. So bum high, lock our back in, back's nice and straight. And then from here, we're pushing through the floor, squeezing up, and our glutes come through. We're not overextending our back. It's all just coming from glute and hamstring coming through there. All right, then we're keeping the bar pulled into our quads, push the bum back, slow and controlled. So this is the eccentric phase, controlling down, pushing our bum back, touching lightly on the floor, and then we're gonna go again. So lock in, ready to go, drive it up. So anyone that's, particularly for a sports person, runner, athlete, you really should be owning the deadlift, really, but this is going to bulletproof your hammies like no tomorrow. I can't recommend it highly enough for myself. I would play footy, do sprints here, lift once a week. All you need to do, get the load through your hammies. that concentric contraction, but also that slow down phase is so important. So yeah, just do 5 reps. You might do 4 sets to start with. Keep it light, just get the movement pattern right. But yeah, that will really help to fix your hamstrings. So I hope this program's really helped you out, guys. Yeah, follow it along. Introduce some of these exercises if you are someone that does suffer recurring hamstring injuries, or you do have that anterior pelvic tilt. You might actually need to shorten your hamstrings and contract and bring that pelvis back down. So yeah, hope that helped. Follow along with other exercises. We're going to have plenty more content in 2024. Thanks, guys. See you later.